week 3 of the fantasy football season. Here's a few wide receivers I looked at off the wire this week. The first receiver, Wan'Dale Robinson of the New York Giants. Wan'Dale Robinson had a breakout performance in week 2. Still available in tons of fantasy leagues right now in 78%. So on the year, he's off to a great start. Week 1 in Washington, 6 catches, 55 yards on 8 targets. And then week 2 with Dallas, the breakout game and best game of his career. 8 catches, 142 yards, a touchdown on 10 targets. So week 3, obviously a tougher matchup. Kansas City coming in, Sunday Night Football. But Wan'Dale easily the number 2 wide receiver in this offense behind Malik Neighbors. He could run down the seam, make the plays. Him and Wilson have a good rapport. And Wan'Dale, he was more of an underneath guy the first season for the Giant team, but now this year he expanded his route tree and making more plays, and arguably he's playing with the best quarterback he's played with in his young career in Russell Wilson. So like I said, coming off a monster game and 18 targets in 2 games, he's definitely a wide receiver to add this week. The next receiver, Cedric Tillman of the Cleveland Browns. So 2 weeks in a row he's made the list. Is Cedric Tillman available right now in tons of fantasy leagues, still in 61%. Week 1 versus Cincinnati, 5 catches, 52 yards, a touchdown. And week 2 with Baltimore, 2 catches, 22 yards, and a touchdown on 7 targets. Like I said, number 2 receiver for this Brown team. They're going to be trailing pretty much every game all season long, where they got no choice but to throw every game, and especially a lot of garbage time. And Cedric Tillman, he's a wideout. We've seen some potential from him. I know week 3, very tough matchup coming up versus the Green Bay Packers. But like I said, anytime a guy's a number 2 receiver and the first couple weeks starts off with a touchdown in each game, someone definitely for fantasy owners to go out there and get this week. The next receiver, Alec Manor of the Tennessee Titans. So Manor, he's a starter, beat out Tyler Lockett in training camp and coming into the year. Week 1, 7 targets, but only 2 catches, 13 yards at Denver. And then week 2 versus the Rams, Cam Ward, what a throw was on the run across his body, found Manor in the back of the end zone. 4 catches, 56 yards, a touchdown on 6 targets. So far, healthy target numbers it's been for Manor in the beginning. And this Tennessee team, they like him coming into the year. Him and Cam Ward have a good rapport from training camp as being 2 rookies as well. And this week in a matchup versus Indianapolis, coming into Tennessee, where they're most likely going to be trailing early and often, Manor could be someone who could go out there once again and have a decent ball game. I'm not saying put him in your starting lineups, but now he's getting known a little bit better and scoring a touchdown in week 2. Definitely someone to add this week, available in 92% of fantasy leagues. Next receiver, Troy Franklin of the Denver Broncos. Franklin, he broke out finally in this ball game for this Bronco team, and now he's definitely a fantasy option, available in 97% of fantasy leagues. I know Marvin Mims had a touchdown. Cortland Sutton, he was non-existent in the week 2 loss in Indianapolis. So week 1 versus Tennessee, 4 catches, 44 yards on 6 targets. And week 2 with Indianapolis, the big breakout game. A carry, 11 yards, and 8 catches, 89 yards, a touchdown on 9 targets. So the first 2 weeks for him, 15 targets. It's pretty legit for Troy Franklin. He's out there 97% of fantasy leagues, like I said. In week 3, not a great matchup at the Chargers, where their defense is one of the better units in the league, in my opinion, especially with Derwin James out there in the secondary. But Troy Franklin, like I said, a lot of targets he's gotten so far in that second quarter. 1 drive, him and Knicks were connecting 3 or 4 times in that drive until he found the end zone. And like I said, he's a young wide receiver in his second season, where year 2 breakout Franklin could be as well. Next receiver, Hunter Renfrow of the Carolina Panthers. It could be a career resurgence this season for Hunter Renfrow. A few years ago, he was very good with the Vegas Raiders. Injuries in the league catching on did him in a little bit. But now here with this Carolina Panther team as well, first couple weeks the targets have been there. And week 2, we had a big game. Week 1 in Jacksonville, 2 catches, 11 yards, 6 targets. Week 2 with Arizona, 7 catches, 48 yards, 2 touchdowns, 9 targets. So this Panther team, they're going to be trailing early and often all season long. Xavier Legette, he's not a good wide receiver. Jalen Coker, he's still injured. So Hunter Renfrow behind Tedalora McMillan's the next receiver up, and we know he's a good possession receiver. We know good yard after catch guy as well, good hands. And this week in a matchup versus Atlanta, where we know they got a good offense, a couple points on the board, they could be chasing once again is the Panthers. So Hunter Renfrow right now available in 99% of fantasy leagues. And the final receiver, Dontez Walker of the Baltimore Ravens. So Dontez Walker, a little bit fluky, obviously, what he did in the week 2 ball game. 2 catches, 26 yards and found the end zone twice. But Lamar Jackson, he's starting to spread that football out even more in this offense to his speed wide receivers. Walker available 99% of fantasy leagues. If you're looking for a wideout in the deepest of leagues, I obviously think Walker can help that for fantasy owners. But in terms your basic 10, 12 team leagues, you got to see a little bit more out of Walker for fantasy owners to go out there and get him. But definitely someone to keep an eye on as the weeks approach, because week 3 versus Detroit on Monday night, that could be another high-scoring game for Baltimore, obviously. So that's a few wide receivers I looked at off the wire for week 3 of the fantasy football season.